There was a Sunday, maybe 2 years ago now, where I sat at my kitchen table and I realised that I was already dreading Monday. Not because something bad was going to happen, not because I had a difficult meeting or a hard conversation ahead of me, just Monday. The simple fact of it, the re-entry. And I remember sitting with that feeling, which I'd normally push past, and asking myself something I hadn't asked before. What am I escaping from? We're very good at building lives that look like they're working. We fill the calendar, we answer the emails, we make the plans, we book the trips, hit the targets. From the outside, it all looks like momentum. It looks like a life in motion. But there is a difference between a life in motion and a life with direction. Modern life has handed us a very specific kind of trap, elegant in how invisible it is. The trap is this, that productivity is the same as meaning, that if you are doing enough, you must be living well. And so we all do more. We fill the space because empty space feels like failure. We stay busy because busyness has become the language of importance. You ask someone how they are and they say, busy, as if that's an answer. As if that's something to be proud of. Marcus Aurelius wrote, and I keep coming back to this, he wrote, confine yourself to the present. Not the next quarter, not the 5-year plan, the present. And think about how utterly foreign that instruction feels to most of us right now. Because we've built lives that require us to be somewhere else, mentally, almost all the time. Planning the next thing, recovering from the last thing, managing the distance between where we are and where we think we should be. And the cost of that distance, of always living slightly ahead of yourself, is that the life that you're actually standing in starts to feel like something to get through rather than something to be in. That Sunday morning at the kitchen table, I wasn't dreading Monday because life was hard. I was dreading it because I had built something I needed to regularly recover from, and I hadn't noticed because I was too busy recovering to notice. A few months after that morning, I came across an exercise. I don't know who first wrote it down, but it stopped me completely when I read it. You take 3 pieces of paper. On the first one, you write down everything that fills your time right now. Everything. Work, obligations, relationships, habits, the things you do in the evening, the things you do at the weekend. Everything. On the second one, you write down everything that gives you a genuine sense of meaning. Not enjoyment, meaning. The things that, when you're doing them, you feel like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The things that feel like substance. And then on the third one, you write down what you want to feel in 10 years. Not what you want to have, not what you want to achieve, how you want to feel. The texture of the ordinary Tuesday afternoon in 10 years' time. What does that feel like? And then you lay them next to each other. Most people, when they do this, find that sheets 1 and 2 have almost nothing in common. The things filling their time are almost entirely separate from the things giving them meaning. And sheet 3, the feeling they're moving toward, is almost nowhere in what they're currently building. That is not a productivity problem. That is not a scheduling problem. That is a clarity problem. And the only way through the clarity problem is stillness. You cannot think your way to clarity while you're still moving at the speed that caused the confusion. Seneca wrote, "It is not that I am brave enough to look at difficult things, it is that I've been still enough to finally see them." That exercise, those 3 pieces of paper, was the first time I've been still enough to really see mine. What I'm about to share are not hacks, they're not shortcuts. I want to be clear about that because the framing matters. These are 3 protocols, 3 slow, deliberate intentions that helped me begin closing the gap between those 3 pieces of paper. They will not transform your life overnight. They are not designed to. They are designed to make a quiet, steady difference over a long period of time, which I've come to believe is the only kind of difference that actually holds. Once a month, I do something I call a subtraction audit. The premise is simple. Instead of asking what I can add to improve my life, I ask what can I remove. Most self-improvement lives in addition. Another routine, another system, another commitment. But depth doesn't come from adding more layers, it comes from removing the ones that are covering what actually matters. The practice, this looks like sitting for 20 minutes with a notebook and asking 3 questions. What am I doing regularly that I resent? What am I carrying that isn't mine to carry? And what would I stop doing tomorrow if I gave myself permission? The answers are usually obvious. They've been obvious for a while, and we just haven't created the stillness to hear them. The Stoics called this process via negativa, the way of negation. The idea that wisdom is often found not in what you pursue, but in what you are willing to release. The second protocol is almost offensively simple. 1 room, 1 hour per week. 1 hour where you're in a room without a phone, without a task, without an agenda, not meditating, not journaling, not optimizing your breathing, just being in the room. The first few times you do this, it will feel like failure because we've been so thoroughly conditioned to equate stillness with waste that sitting quietly in a room feels like you are doing something wrong. You are not. You're doing something that almost disappeared from modern life. You're giving your mind room to settle, like sediment in water. You cannot see clearly while everything is still moving. Eudaimonia, the ancient Greek concept of a flourishing life, was never conceived as something you achieved by being constantly productive. It was conceived as the natural result of a life aligned with your deepest values. And you cannot know your deepest values if you never stop moving long enough to hear them. 1 room, 1 hour, that is the whole protocol. The third protocol is the heaviest one. I want you to sit with it. Every morning or evening, whichever feels right, write down 1 sentence. 1 sentence, today I choose to ... Not I need to, not I should, choose to. This is not morbid, it is the opposite of morbid. The Stoics' practice of memento mori, the remembrance of death, was never meant to be a source of dread. It was meant to be a source of clarity, a reminder that the time you have is the only time there is, and therefore what you spend it on has weight. When you write, because my time is finite, today I choose to be fully present at the dinner table with my family, something shifts. The dinner becomes less ordinary. The conversation has more depth. You are there. That is the practice. Not a reminder that you will die, a reminder that you are alive right now, and this moment is not a waiting room for something more important. I still have that Sunday morning feeling, but it comes less often now. And when it does, I recognize it very quickly. It's a signal, not a failure, but of drift. A quiet indication that I've let the distance grow again between what is filling my time and what is giving it meaning. The life you don't need to escape from is not a perfect life. It is not a life without difficulty or weight or grief. It is simply a life that, when you are standing in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday, when the light is flat and nothing remarkable is happening, still feels like yours, still feels like something you choose. That's the whole ambition. Nothing more dramatic than that. Better for the individual, good for the hive. I'll see you in the next one.